watching Major League Baseball on TSN, Canada's exclusive home of the World Series. The deadline came, and the Expos were dealing again. Gone are two of their best players. A solid shortstop who was unhappy and wanted to go, and a fiery pitcher who wanted to stay. But baseball's trading deadline means a new beginning for others. A chance to prove one's worth. It's ironic, then, that tonight, the Expos face a part of their past, Mark Langston and the Padres. Expos baseball on TSN. Tonight, the Padres and the Expos, live from Olympic Stadium. Yes, the Expos are building for the future. This would be the distant future. Getting a little work in the outfield there, live and interactive on TSN. Hi again, everybody, and welcome to Baseball Tonight on the Sports Network. I'm Rod Smith. It's the Expos and the Padres again. Back in 1989, when Montreal wasn't looking to the future, but the present, they made a big deal with Seattle to get the lefty ace, Mark Langston. Well, Langston went 12-9 that year, went to the American League. He's not pitched in Montreal since then. He's never faced the Expos. He will tonight. You know, a part of that deal as well, going from Montreal to Seattle, was a big lefty by the name of Randy Johnson, who ended up having a remarkable career with the Mariners. Finally, he was traded again just last night to the Houston Astros. There were a flurry of deals going on before the deadline, and that include the Expos and the Dodgers as well. With more on that, let's head to the Big O now. Dave Van Horne and Gary Carter.
Well, thank you, Rod. Certainly an exciting night in Major League Baseball last night. So many teams anticipating deals. The Expos were not left out during the first inning of the game against the San Diego Padres. We saw Carlos Perez and Mark Grudzielanek shake a lot of hands and say goodbye. Grudzielanek was in the lineup. He came out of the game. And along with those two, Hiram Bocachica from the minor leagues going to the Dodgers for Wilton Guerrero, Vladimir's brother, and minor Peter Bergeron, left-handed pitcher Ted Lilly, and Jonathan Tucker, the two outfielders, and the first baseman Tucker, they are left-handed batters.
And that's exactly what the Expos were trying to get, is for the future, building in that capacity. Wilton Guerrero, who is not starting today, but he will be the starting second baseman. Cabrera will move over to shortstop. So the Expos thought in this, Dave, was that they wanted some left-handed bats in the lineup for the future, and their key year that they're looking at, 2001.
Exactly. Orlando Cabrera will be at shortstop tonight, and Wilton Guerrero will be in the lineup playing at second base tomorrow afternoon. Well, with the Padres in town, one of the big fours here, that would be Greg Vaughn. Let's look at the four batters now that are chasing down the Roger Maris home run mark. Mark McGwire, of course, at 45 is in the catbird seat. Then Sammy Sosa with 42, Ken Griffey Jr. at 41, and last night, Greg Vaughn hit number 38 in this ballpark.
Well, he's changed his style a little bit since coming over from the Brewers. He's got that real short, compact swing, and that was a line drive shot. That gave him 38 home runs on the year, closing in on 40. And you remember Caminetti had 40 home runs in his MVP year. So Greg Vaughn's name will come out in that MVP voting.
No doubt about that. The Expos are up against a pitcher who at one time wore the Montreal uniform in 1989, Mark Langston, on the mound for the Padres tonight. The Expos were going to pitch Carlos Perez. He's now a Dodger, so they go to the bullpen for Miguel Batista, who takes on the Padres. At Olympic Stadium, the Expos have taken the field, and Miguel Batista's warming up. He'll face this lineup. Kilvio Vargas leads it off. Then Tony Gwynn, a sure shot Hall of Famer. Ken Caminetti bats third. Greg Vaughn in the cleanup spot. Wally Joyner, a left-handed bat in the number 5 position. 3 left-handed batters in a row. Joyner, then Steve Finley, and then catcher Greg Myers. The shortstop is Chris Gomez, and the pitcher Mark Langston. And Miguel Batista comes out of the bullpen to make the start. You see the numbers on Batista.
And Batista making his 8th start of the season for the Expos, but his 14th Major League start in his career. Now, he has not achieved a a record here at home at the Big O. He's 0-0 with a 2.32 ERA. You see the rest of his numbers there. Pretty good strikeouts with innings pitched, but the walks are up with 43. On the road, 2-5, and he'll face a very tough San Diego Padre lineup.
Defensively for the Expos, Robert Perez gets the start in left field tonight. Terry Jones in center, Vladimir Guerrero in right. Brad Fulmer, Mike Mordecai play the right side of the infield. Orlando Cabrera and Shane Andrews on the left side. Bob Henley behind the plate. And Henley tonight makes his 5th major league start. There is Wilton Guerrero on the bench. His flight arrived in Montreal at about 4 p.m. He was not at the ballpark until well after 5. And so Felipe felt it was unfair under those circumstances to just put him right in the opening lineup just after having joined the club and getting to the park late. Pitches up high and a ball to Kilby O'Barris, and we're underway in Montreal.
He did take infield, Dave, but you're right. He came in, we asked him for an interview, and quickly he got in uniform, and he was very obliging.
2 balls, no strikes to Barris, the Padre leadoff hitter, batting .271. He's a switch hitter. Tony Gwynn is on deck. Padres having a terrific year and making a strong bid for the West Division title. Ball 3. Batista's problem is control. He has good stuff, but he does not have good control, and it's that simple.
And that's why we talked about earlier about the 43 walks he has issued so far and the 80+ innings. That's too high for that amount of innings pitched.
3-1 over for a called strike. Now 3-2 to Kilby O'Barris. And you know that manager Bruce Bochy and hitting instructor Merv Rettenman talked to the hitters about being patient against Batista. Here's a play for Cabrera, his first play at shortstop. Now that Gresolonic is gone, Cabrera having no problem moving over to the left side of the infield.
Well, Felipe Alou has mentioned many a times that he feels that Cabrera was going to be the future shortstop. He makes a fine play, and the reason he made the play so well is that he charged the ball and then had a strong throw.
He'd made 3 other starts at shortstop this year, and that was right at the end of the first half before the All-Star break when Mark Gresolonic sat down. Tony Gwynn, an 8-time batting champion, 38-year veteran, 17th year, and Gwynn takes a strike. 104 hits short of 3,000 for his career, and the numbers for Gwynn go on and on. He is one of the all-time great hitters in baseball, certainly the all-time great hitter of our time in the National League.
No question, and he's gotten hot lately. He's 11 for 19 on this present road trip, and you don't talk about Tony Gwynn having a slump too often, but now his average at 320. And he's going to get climbing back up in that top 10. And there you go, another base hit.
A base hit up the middle for Gwynn. And it comes with 1 out and brings Ken Caminetti to the plate. Let's take a look at the active hit leaders now that we updated for Gwynn. Paul Molitor, 3,261. And Tony Gwynn at 2,897 and climbing.
Well, those 3 guys at the top there next to Molitor, Gwynn, Boggs, and Ripken Jr. probably won't get to the 3,000 mark, but certainly next year, if all goes well, they'll reach that plateau.
Caminetti drives the ball toward the gap in left center, and it is off the base of the wall. Gwynn comes to third. He's been waved by Tim Flannery. Here's the relay by Cabrera, and Gwynn is safe at home, and the Padres lead 1-0. Caminetti, who last night homered in his first at-bat with Gwynn on base, tonight doubles to drive in the first run.
Well, Caminetti is such a instrumental part of this ball club, and obviously a major cog in the wheel, a former MVP, but he drives the ball to the opposite field. Good relay throws and all, and Gwynn doesn't run like he used to, but still was able to score the first run of this ball game.
Greg Vaughn, the batter. Vaughn, who last night hit his 38th, he's now batting .296 with 38 homers and 91 RBIs. He is on a torrid pace. On a pace to hit 56 home runs and drive in 135. He's got Caminetti out there at second base and cracks one foul off to the left side.
We mentioned earlier when he came over from Milwaukee, he was really pressing because he wanted to impress not only the National League but the Padres, and he's having a big year primarily because he's in his free agent year too. But you see where he's lowered his hands, and he does have a very short, compact type swing, but he really has been a big part of this Padres success this year.
He's going to get a lot of votes for MVP. Twice in Milwaukee he hit 30 or more home runs. He hit exactly 30 in 1993. Then 2 years ago, the 96 season, he hit 31 homers. This year, of course, a career high with 38. Batista spinning around looking at Mordecai, who moved in there behind Ken Caminetti, but there was no throw, and the count, a ball and a strike on Greg Vaughn. Of course, if Vaughn's going to stay up there with McGuire, Sosa, and Griffey, this is Mordecai going over possibly the pickoff play and the signs and whether or not there should be a throw. And Mordecai and Batista not on the same page. And now the catcher and the manager's out there as well.
When that happens and Felipe Alou comes to the mound, obviously there must have been a play on, because if it is the no-look play and in hopes to maybe pick a runner off at second base, Bob Henley is the one that initiates that sign, and then Mordecai comes slipping in behind the runner, and Batista did the spin move. So Felipe wanted to get everything sorted out properly before he went back to the dugout, and it seems as though everything's worked out now.
A ball and a strike on Greg Vaughn. Vaughn hits the ball on the ground. Andrews backs up, gets a big hard hop, throws to first to retire Vaughn. That was not as easy as it might have looked.
No, and Shane Andrews probably did the right thing, because if you come charging in on that play, it might have short hopped him. But the fact that the ball was hit so hard on the ground, Andrews backed up, made sure, and then fired across the diamond, a strike to Fulmer. So a good play by Andrews, 2 out, and that brings up a very pure hitter in Wally Joyner.
Wally Joyner, a left-handed batter and a 36-year-old veteran of 13 big league campaigns. Joyner batting at .315. He's knocked in 66 runs. And a called strike on Joyner.
It's kind of interesting to see, you know, Joyner, if he does take his helmet off, you'll see that he's buzzed the top of his head all the way, and he was kind of thinning there. And of course the craze this year has been the bleached blonde look, but Joyner went to the bald look.
I think there have probably been 2 looks in the last couple of years, and that is that bleached look or the shaved head look.
Exactly. But
Joyner opted for the shaved head look.
Well, because he was thinning so much, maybe he just figured, well, I'll just go ahead and shave it all off. But Wally Joyner, one of the purest hitters in the game.
2 down, Caminetti at second base, and Joyner up. Joyner hits a ground ball, sending Mordecai to his right, gets it off balance, throw in time, and a good play by Mordecai. So a couple of good plays on the infield behind Batista. The Padres have a 1-0 lead here after a half inning of play in Montreal. Mark Langston will face Terry Jones and Orlando Cabrera, along with Robert Perez at the top of the order tonight. Vladimir Guerrero hits in the number 4 spot. Then Shane Andrews, Bob Henley, Brad Fulmer, Mike Mordecai, and Miguel Batista up against the 37-year-old Mark Langston.
Mark Langston signed a minor league free agent contract on January the 8th. He's making his 14th start of the season for the Padres. And a lot of folks in Canada remember him when he came to the Expos in 1989, involved in a trade that included Randy Johnson, where he went 12-9 that year and hopes to bring a championship to the Expos. So that was his only stint in the National League until this year. And you saw the rest of the numbers on Langston. Not the same pitcher back in 1989. He's become more of a crafty type pitcher.
Defensively for the Padres tonight, Greg Vaughn is in left field. The center fielder, a 3-time Gold Glove winner, Steve Finley. Tony Gwynn is in right. At first base, Wally Joyner, Kilby O'Barris at second. Chris Gomez, the shortstop. Ken Caminetti, a 3-time Gold Glove winner at the hot corner, and Greg Myers is the catcher. Speaking of Gold Glove work, the pitcher, Mark Langston, has won 7 Gold Gloves.
Well, he's a great athlete, Dave, and when you watch him move around on the mound and just his mannerisms, you can tell that he fields his position very well.
Low and inside, and ball 1 to Terry Jones, batting at .227. A speedster and a switch hitter. 2 balls, no strikes to Jones. Jones was brought up from Ottawa, where he hit .237 when Rondell White went on the disabled list, and the Expos have lost their star center fielder for the remainder of the year. With a fracture and torn ligaments in his right thumb, right ring finger, which has been surgically repaired.
And talking to him before the game, he said, and wouldn't you imagine it happened on a stupid play like that? But yet he was having such a great season, you hate to see that happen.
Ball 4 to Jones, a leadoff walk. And there are times when pitchers walk Terry Jones that he turns that into a double. Now, he only has 2 stolen bases, so there are more ways in getting to second than just stealing the bag. Sometimes a runner will hit behind him or bunt him over. We'll see how Felipe Alou plays it here in the first inning, down 1-0.
Keep in mind, too, Mark Langston, a pretty good move to first base, one of the better moves from a left-hander.
Double play depth on the San Diego infield. Low and inside, and ball 1. Cabrera, a 23-year-old rookie, in this number 2 spot. Now, this is the position in the batting order that Wilton Guerrero is going to occupy starting tomorrow afternoon. And Cabrera will bat either leadoff or share the leadoff spot with Terry Jones, or hit 8th in the order.
That's just a decision that Felipe has to make. I think Cabrera probably will be the guy that'll lead off. We've seen 2 quick throws come from Langston, but to no avail. And so you would think that maybe Terry Jones might be dropped down to that 8th spot, but at least the Expos now have some additional speed in the lineup.
2 balls and no strikes to Orlando Cabrera. Langston hasn't thrown a strike, has he?
No, he hasn't. So now you have to be patient. I'm sure that Cabrera, now that he's seen 2 pitches from Langston, he'll watch probably a 3rd one. But until Langston throws a strike, I got to believe he's going to be up there taking.
Langston throwing to first base. One thing about it, when the Padre pitchers put the ball in play, the other San Diego players generally take pretty good care of that baseball. They're one of the best defensive teams in the league.
Yeah, only have committed 63 errors all year.
Now 3-0 on Cabrera. Langston, who came here May 25th, 1989, coming to the Expos, who sent Gene Harris, Brian Holman, and one Randy Johnson to the Seattle Mariners in return for Mark Langston. Langston fires a strike, and Cabrera was taking all the way. Now the count is 3-1.
You know, Dave, there might even be a little bit of apprehension on Mark Langston's mind. The fact that he's coming back to Montreal, knowing the involvement of the trade back in 1989, and maybe that might affect him on the mound a little bit tonight.
A toss to first base, checking Terry Jones. Cabrera waiting for a 3-1 pitch. When Langston came over to the Expos, he made 24 Montreal starts, won 12 games. He lost 9. Cabrera bounces the ball through the left side. A base hit for Cabrera, just past Caminetti.
When you mention about defense, Dave, there's no question you got an all-star Gold Glover over there at third base, but Caminetti not able to come up with this bounding ball to the left side. A good effort by Caminetti, but it finds its way into left field. Ball hit too hard. Terry Jones was not able to get to third. So now Robert Perez batting in the third spot. We'll see how Felipe Alou plays this, whether or not to try and move the runners over with a bunt with Vladimir Guerrero on deck, or whether or not Perez will drive the ball to the right side.
The pitch to Robert Perez caught the inside corner. One strike on Perez, whose father is in Montreal visiting him and watching him play. Perez, of course, has always been a big hitter in the minor leagues and usually has found himself in the third, fourth, or fifth spots in batting orders. He swings here and drives a ball down the left field line. Foul.
He was the player, Dave, that was talked about probably the most near the end of spring training when there was possible availability with him. He ended up going to Seattle, and then he was involved in the Raul Chavez trade. But there's what he's done in July, and I think a lot of that has to do with that wrist injury he had a little bit earlier.
I think about 90% of it has had to do with bouncing back from a wrist injury and spending time on the DL. But he has never been a bunter in the minor leagues or anywhere else. There's a foul ball. Did he make contact? No, he didn't. He swung and missed on a wild pitch.
Yes, he did, but Greg Myers, the catcher, was not able to come up with it. So no advancement for Robert Perez because the bases were occupied. But watch where the pitch is. It's down low. Myers does not go down on it. It goes through the wicket and all the way back to the backstop. And both runners advance, but Robert Perez out on strike. So you would say he's kind of done his job.
Did Myers do something wrong?
Yeah, he didn't go down all the way is what it was. He just kind of went down there with one knee, but not all the way.
And Langston gets tagged with a wild pitch. Moving the runners to second and third with one out for Vladimir Guerrero. Guerrero in the cleanup spot, hitting at 328. He's among the top 10 hitters in the National League. He's number 6 going into the games today and tonight.
And a very nice round of applause when he stepped into the batter's box. Vladimir Guerrero hitting .339 at home against left-handed pitching, hitting .341. He's also hitting a nifty .311 with runners in scoring position. Langston's going to be very careful to him in this at-bat.
Foul ball back onto the screen. 2 balls and a strike. Guerrero got to bat in the 9th inning last night with the bases loaded and 1 out against Trevor Hoffman, the Padre closer. And Guerrero made an out number 2 in the inning. He popped up to the second baseman Barris, and Felipe Alou said that Guerrero was really upset with himself after the game, felt that he'd let the team down. Well, here he is in his very next at bat. He's got a couple of men in scoring position. 2-1 the count. Ball 3 to Guerrero. 3-1.
We just showed a quick shot of Trevor Hoffman over in the Padres dugout, and what a year that young man has had in the saves department. Obviously leading the major leagues with 35 saves, and he picked up his 35th last night.
3-1 pitch. Guerrero swings and singles up the middle. Jones is on to score. Cabrera's being waved. Here's the play at the plate. Cabrera slides in safely, and the Expos get 2 and lead 2-1 on the Guerrero base hit up the middle.
We mentioned just a second ago that Langston might be a little bit careful. I believe the pitch was inside, but Vladimir Guerrero is such a good bad ball hitter that he inside outs it, almost takes Langston's head off and drives it right back through the middle, scoring Terry Jones from third easily. A good throw from Steve Finley, but obviously you see there that Cabrera slides around the tag, and the Expos take the lead.
2-1 Montreal. Guerrero at first and Shane Andrews the batter, hitting at .232. Andrews takes a strike.
I just appreciated that slide too at home, avoiding the tag by Myers. He didn't really have a shot because the throw was up the line a little bit, but a good hustle and good effort by Orlando Cabrera.
Jones and Cabrera scoring on the play. 2-1 Montreal. 0-2 the count on Andrews.
Obviously, the significance of this ball game is not probably as much for the Expos as it is for the Padres, as they continue to vie for the Western Division crown. They have presently a 13-game lead over the San Francisco Giants and would like nothing more than to come away with another victory here tonight.
1 ball and 2 strikes, the count on Shane Andrews, with Bob Henley, the rookie catcher, on deck.
And what a turnaround these Padres have made today. When you think about it, they finished in last place last year and have made a complete turnaround to be in first place this year.
Andrews cracks 1 foul off to the left side, and the count remains 1 ball and 2 strikes. Andrews, number 5 in the order. Felipe moving this right-handed hitter up, even though he's only hitting .232, because he has dropped the left-handed batter, the rookie Brad Fulmer, down to 7th in the order because the Padres are starting a left-handed pitcher.
Well, it's probably a smart move, but you also have 16 dingers in there too, and he's capable of hitting one out at any time.
And a ball. Well, that's true. 18 doubles, a triple, and the 16 home runs you mentioned for Andrews. Only 1 out, and again the Padre infield at double play depth with Guerrero, the runner, at first base. Not a big lead, but he draws a throw anyway.
Since Langston has had some injuries, Dave, I'm sure you notice a significant difference in certainly his pitches. He used to have the big over-the-top curveball, the good live fastball, and very seldom would throw the off-speed changeup.
Now 3-2 to Andrews.
And doesn't it seem like to you that he's like turning the ball over more, doesn't have quite the same velocity, and the curveball maybe not quite as crisp, but that's what injuries do to you.
Right. Elbow surgery last year. Only a little over 40 innings in the big leagues.
Yeah, the Padres, you have to credit them for really even taking a chance.
Yeah, they signed him as a minor league free agent.
Right.
3-2 pitch. Nope, another throw to first base. In the starts that Langston has made, the Padres as a team have gone 7-6.
Right.
In his 13 starts. His record, as we mentioned, is 4-3.
Well, the 2 big guns on the Padres staff have to be Kevin Brown and Andy Ashby.
Andrews hits a shot to Gomez, to Veras, and on to first, and they get the inning-ending double play. Gomez scrambling on his knees to unload that ball to Veras. 2-1, Montreal, end of 1.
A Baseball Tonight update from Oakland, where Cleveland blew a 2-run lead in the 9th and then lost it in the 10th. It's ex-Oakland ace Steve Carsey giving it up to Matt Stairs. The pride of New Brunswick takes him out for his 18th of the year. 6-5 Oakland in 10. Back to Dave and Gary.
Well, how about that Matt Stairs? Gary, we saw him come up as a youngster in the Expos uniform. Here's the double play that got Langston out of further trouble.
Well, Gomez showing good range to his left, going to his knees, a good flip to Kilvio Veras, and Veras, rather than making the pivot, came across the bag and then gave a strong throw on to Wally Joyner. But you're right, getting back to Matt Stairs, he was in the Expo organization. I remember him back when, and this kid has just been something else.
He's really gotten better and better
every year.
Just like a good wine, as they say, just getting better with age. And it's terrific to see.
Yep. And didn't he sign just another 3-year extension, I believe
so.
Yeah.
2-1 Expos into the second. Steve Finley, then Greg Myers and Chris Gomez for the Padres. And Miguel Batista. Well, the beach ball has been taken out of play by the security guard down the line there, so we can resume play.
Well, I must say it's nice to see a good crowd here once again at the Big O.
Pretty decent Saturday night crowd. Must be Saturday night fever. Here's the pitch. And it is low and a ball. Speaking of that, it is disco night.
Yeah, it was kind of fun to watch some of the guys. P.J. Loyola, I mean, he was the best. I think we got a shot of him, too. He looks a little bit like John Lennon.
2 balls, no strikes. P.J., the Expos PR.
Is that awesome?
See, is that a flashback or what?
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Didn't he look a little bit like John Lennon?
Ball in the air to center. Terry Jones takes care of this. Finley's out. One center fielder flies out to the other. Now, how about before the game, Steve Klein was helping to present the prizes to the Disco Night contest winners. Look at Steve Klein.
Do you like it or what?
Man, I tell you, throw
that
back
a little bit to Oscar Gamble days.
I was going to say, look, 5 Oscar Gambles down there. And a few Dennis Rodmans, too, that I've spotted. Here's Greg Myers, the catcher for the Padres. Batting .240.
We talked earlier about the craze of the hairstyles this year and going to the blonde look and all. We haven't seen a whole lot of Dennis Rodman style haircuts this year, though.
Funny how that hasn't really caught
on. With the green and then all the patches and things like that.
Oh, ball and a strike to Myers. He is catching tonight because, number one, Carlos Hernandez got hurt last night. A foul ball off the knee. And you know all about that, even though it hits the knee protector that's attached to the shin guard.
Right.
When you get it square, and he got one square last night, that knee's going to be sore for a while. So Myers gets a start. It is his 26th start behind the plate, while Hernandez has started 74 Padre games. We also have Jim Leyritz over here.
Right.
There's a walk to Myers with one out. Let's look at the scouting report now on the Expos starter tonight, Miguel Batista.
Well, it also gives the Padres another left-handed bat in the lineup, but you see the scouting report on Batista. I think he needs to change his I think repertoire of pitches a little bit. He's got mostly just good fastball slider, and then you see what he did as a starter, and that's the reason why the mindset has to be a little different. He's no longer the reliever that he has been for most of the season. He did start 7 games earlier, but I think he's got to change a little bit, and I'm sure that Felipe would like to get at least 5 good solid innings out of him before he has to turn it over to maybe the bullpen.
Chris Gomez, the batter, the right-hand hitting shortstop. Gomez batting .247. The pitcher, Mark Langston, is on deck. And in this situation, it is the Expos who have their infield stationed at double play depth. Dramatic change in the middle of the infield, of course, with Cabrera moving to shortstop. Tonight, Mordecai at second, but it will be Wilton Guerrero. And getting buzzed inside is Chris Gomez.
You know, you really have to credit Chris Gomez with a fine job. There was speculation and talk at one time that maybe Barry Larkin was going to be on his way to San Diego, but Gomez has only committed 6 errors this year, hitting .247 on the year, a couple of home runs, 26 RBIs, and he gives Bruce Bochy a added right-handed bat in there that can move the ball around the field from time to time. So, you know, he's done a fine job in the field.
2-1 the count on Gomez. There is the manager of the Padres, Bruce Bochy. He's now in his 4th year. He'd served as the third base coach under Jim Riegelman for a couple of years, 93 and 94. Former Padre player. Gomez sends the center fielder Terry Jones back. He got turned the wrong way but recovered, then catches the ball down around the shins. So it was kind of a trick play for Terry Jones and not by the book, but it's a routine out on the fly ball, pulled off in not quite a routine manner.
No, not really, because see, as he went back on it, then he kind of turned and jogged a little bit, and then the ball came up a little shorter than he anticipated. But when he initially broke back on it, he thought it might have been hit a little bit deeper.
2 down, Myers at first, and Mark Langston is the batter. He has 2 hits in 20 at-bats, and he bats right-handed and always has, exposing that left arm to the pitcher's fastball, but nonetheless has never changed. Good athlete, enjoys the hitting part of the game, and a called strike.
And it's not too often that you see a left-handed thrower be a right-handed hitter. The only one else that comes to mind pitcher-wise, Sandy Koufax, and then of course Ricky Henderson is a left-handed thrower. Good stop there by Bob Henley, and then bats right-handed. But remember all that talk at one time, the Dodgers really wanted Sandy Koufax to bat left-handed, but he said, I just can't do it. I'm just naturally a right-handed hitter.
And there was a time when most organizations, if they came across the left-handed pitcher who batted right-handed, would make the pitcher change.
Right.
look, you're not here to hit. You're here to pitch. And just learn to bunt left-handed, and that's all you need to do.
That's right. We want you to protect that golden arm, especially when it was the likes of Sandy Koufax and even Mark Langston, for that matter. But he didn't have to worry about it when he was DHing in the American League.
Batista blows a fastball by him, and the Padres leave a runner. The Expos have a 2-1 lead here in the second. Well, it's disco night, and they've got it going here at the stadium. It is 2-1 Montreal midway in the second inning. Let's take a look at the scouting report now on Mark Langston.
Well, Mark Langston, we will show you eventually a graphic on his strikeouts, but right now the big curveball, fastball change is his repertoire, but obviously with the arm injury, the elbow surgery over the winter, he's had to change his style a little bit more, and you see what his record has been on the road.
Now Bob Henley, the rookie catcher, then Brad Fulmer and Mike Mordecai will be coming up here. Henley making his 5th big league start. He was hitting .246 at Ottawa, 25-year-old rookie. Henley doing a pretty good job with the bat. So far, so good. 8 hits and 19 at-bats. Now, the 8 hits, they're all singles. He's got some major league firsts to take care of. Does not have a big league extra base hit or a run batted in. To Henley from Mark Langston.
Well, he could do that with one swing of the bat, hit the home run and get the RBI. But I think for Bob Henley's sake, he's just looking to get on base. And he did that in our last game in Milwaukee, where he got on base 3 times. And he was the leadoff hitter each of those times.
Henley hits a hard line drive right at the left fielder. And Greg Vaughn takes care of this. Mark Langston, ranking number 2 among the active pitchers in strikeouts, behind the Rocket and ahead of Dennis Eckersley.
You know, that might be a surprise to most people. You ask that question, and the active player, obviously Roger Clemens just achieved that mark in his last couple of starts, but then Randy Johnson comes to mind, and you wouldn't think Mark Langston, because his name's kind of been synonymous in these last couple of years.
You suggest that Langston might be the forgotten man because of the past couple of seasons. He's kind of been lost here, having undergone elbow surgery last year and struggling somewhat the year before. Two balls, no strikes to Brad Fulmer, the 23-year-old rookie. He had missed 8 games toward the end of July with a median nerve problem in his left bicep. And it's taken a while. When he was sitting out those games, he couldn't swing the bat. So when he got back into the lineup, he virtually had to go through batting practice during games.
And it was like taking a toy away from him, because you know how Brad is in the clubhouse and everywhere he is. He's got a bat in his hand. See what he's done in the month of July to date.
3-0 pitch, and it's ball 4.
I did ask him before the game how it felt. He says, I don't feel the discomfort anymore, but he felt that it was quite weak. And, you know, he's a very strong advocate of weightlifting, so he's going to have to build up the strength back once again.
1 down, Fulmer aboard. Mike Mordecai hitting in the 8th spot, and the pitcher Miguel Batista will make his way onto the on-deck circle in a moment. Mordecai hasn't had a chance to play a great deal, has 72 at-bats in, hitting 181. Called strike. Mordecai getting the call at second base tonight because of the late arrival of Wilton Guerrero. Now, it's not that he was late to the ballpark, later than the Expos expected. He arrived on time as far as their expectations were concerned, but Felipe Alou felt it was too late to put him in the lineup, that it wasn't fair to the young man. Although Felipe pointed out when the Giants called him up, he arrived at the ballpark in San Francisco for his first big league game. It was a 7:30 game, and he arrived at the ballpark at 6 o'clock. He wasn't in the starting lineup, but he was swinging a bat by the 6th inning and in the game.
Well, I wouldn't be a bit surprised if Felipe has Wilton ready to go at one point in time if he needs an opportunity for a pinch hitter and maybe go in and play some defense.
1 ball and 2 strikes to Mike Mordecai.
In some ways, that might be a good way of settling in rather than the big expectations. Maybe just throw him into an inning or 2 tonight and then get him ready for his start tomorrow.
Two strikes.
What is nice to see is we just showed that shot of both Wilton and Vladimir talking on the bench, and I'm sure he is just extremely happy, Vladimir is, to have his brother a part of this Expo ball club.
2-2 pitch, and Mordecai slams one foul down behind third base, and the Padre left fielder Greg Vaughn will have to retrieve that. 2-2 to Mike Mordecai.
Yeah, he retrieves it only to make some fans happy out there in the left field pavilion. But Wilton seemed to be in good spirits about being reunited with his brother, and he was happy to oblige with a quick interview that we had prior to, but he's just happy to get an opportunity now to be able to play.
Fulmer drawing the throw, getting back.
Because you know of some of the grumblings that went on when he was in a Dodger uniform. He wasn't pleased with his playing time and requested a trade at one time. And then Vladimir said, well, if you can get my brother, that would be nice.
A bounding ball, bringing Caminetti in. He's going to let it go and knocks it down right at the bag. It's an infield hit for Mordecai. Caminetti hoping that that ball would go foul. It didn't. As a matter of fact, had he not knocked it down when he did, it would have hit the bag, and goodness knows which way it would have bounced.
Well, these are hits that we used to call as players, and maybe they still do, as a love thing. That's one of those balls that you expect to maybe go foul. It finds its way down the line. Caminetti had no play anyway, but it hits the bag. Caminetti looked briefly to see if Fulmer might have tried to come to third, but that's your infield single by the wonderful kind. A love thing and a hit for Mordecai.
Batista showing bunt, jabbed at it, missed it, and strike 1. I would think, because of his experience, a 15-year veteran, that even though Mark Langston does not throw as hard as he once did, that he might make it particularly uncomfortable for Batista to bunt.
I would say somewhat, but Batista, as you had said, not to jab at the ball, let the ball hit the bat, and maybe he can get his job done. But Wally Joyner's charging hard. Gomez raced back to his position. Maybe there was a thought of a possible pickoff there. Caminetti's the one at third base flashing the signs, and as well Pete McCannon flashing the signs to Batista. This might also be an opportunity that Felipe Alou might implement the Butcher Boy too.
And again, Batista not squaring around and getting that bat out in front of home plate to get the bunt down.
Well, and when I say Butcher Boy, maybe he would be better off to try and swing a little bit. What you do with the Butcher Boy, you show bunt, and then you pull the bat back quickly and just try and make contact. Maybe Batista would be better off that way, because he certainly hasn't looked good on the first 2 bunt attempts.
He has 1 sacrifice bunt this year. Langston's pitch. Batista's going to swing away and fouls the ball right side.
See, Felipe himself saw the first 2 attempts and figured, well, let's just go ahead and have him swing away. Now, obviously, you would not like to see him strike out here. You want to try to advance the runners and get them both into scoring position. And if Batista can do that without being able to get the bunt down, then he's at least done his job.
2 strikes on Miguel Batista. Expos at first and second with 1 out. Batista's bunting again, missed it, and he's down on strikes, and the runners are still at first and second. That's the 2nd strikeout for Mark Langston. And Langston's strikeout high, by the way, in any game this year is 5 strikeouts.
Right. Not the same dominant pitcher that he once was, but still knows how to pitch, and I think that's another reason why the San Diego Padres took a chance on Mark Langston. And another very important part of the Padres year has been bringing in a new pitching coach, the name of Dave Stewart, one-time Cy Young Award winner, a 20-game winner several years, and he has really revamped that Padres staff.
Oh, and 1 the count on Terry Jones, who walked and scored in the first inning. Jones swings and hits the ball to the center fielder Finley for out number 3, and the Expos leave a couple. It's 2-1 Montreal at the end of 2 at Olympic Stadium. Well, during the disco fever, it was John Travolta. This might be Bob and Sam Revolta here tonight. But, they're going big time at it at the stadium, and the Expos have a 2-1 lead. And joining us, one of disco's big names, Vice President and General Manager of the Expos, Jim Beattie. Jim with a big smile, because so far the reviews have been very good. If this were a Broadway show you were putting on, you would have gotten rave reviews for opening night, because most baseball people that we have seen quoted and have heard commenting like the acquisitions that the Expos got in return for Mark Gresselanek, Carlos Perez, and Hirambo Cachica. And just by way of quick review for folks who might have missed it earlier, coming to the Expos, Wilton Guerrero, Peter Bergeron, an outfielder, the first baseman Jonathan Tucker. They'll both be assigned to Harrisburg, the AA club. They've been playing AA for the Dodgers. And Ted Lilly, the left-handed pitcher, will go to Ottawa, the Expos AAA club. And here's a line drive off the bat of Kilvio Barris, speared at third by Shane Andrews. So that is the deal. You have the acquisitions. And Jim, what has the response been, and how do you feel now, almost 24 hours after the deal?
Well, we still feel good. You know, when you make deals, there's always that you're giving up major league players that sometimes, and the guys you've developed, that's always a tough way to go. But when you're trying to look ahead like we are, trying to improve the club for 2001, you look to get good athletes in here, and we wanted to add some good athletes. We think we've done that. We've added some great athletes and also a left-handed pitcher, so we feel very good about it.
Felipe Alou, before the game, alluded to the fact there's a pitch to Tony Gwynn. Felipe alluding to the fact that there have been some left-handed bats lost to this organization recently, talking about Darren Fletcher and Henry Rodriguez and Doug Strange and David Segui and the likes. And there was a need in the organization for left-handed hitters, and here's a 3-1 out to retire Gwynn, speaking of left-handed hitters. And you went and did that with position players, got some young, talented left-handed bats for the organization.
It wasn't a prime I guess a prime goal to get just left-handed hitters or left-handed pitchers the way it worked out. But when we looked at organizations, we tried to look at the best young players they had. We wanted to try to get a pitcher in there, and the best athletes, best position players, they just ended up all being left-handed. And so it worked out very well for us. And as I said, they're all quality guys.
Ball 1 and no strikes to Ken Caminetti.
I guess the biggest eyebrows that were raised is about this Peter Bergeron young man, and I guess when he was talked about in the trade, he seems to be the one that is going to be a future superstar.
He was the toughest one for me to get Tommy DePryor's fingers off. I mean, he had him on a death grip there, and he was the last one to give up. He was tough on him, and we held our ground because we realized that we were giving up a lot of value there, and so it worked out well for us. And we have some, you know, they're all kind of keys in their own ways, but Guerrero, obviously. Right. Lilly, left-handed pitcher, obvious. But Peter Bergeron, I think, could be very well in 2 years. People could look out there and say, my God, well, that's a good one.
2 balls and a strike to Caminetti, who swings and misses that high fastball. The immediate effect on the Montreal club is, of course, that Orlando Cabrera moves to shortstop. Wilton Guerrero will take over at second base. The other effect it has had on the Expos is starting pitcher Carlos Perez is out of the picture. Now tonight, Felipe has gone to the bullpen for Miguel Batista, but you made another roster move today as well.
Yeah, we recalled Jeremy Powell, and as you remember, Jeremy on Wednesday threw very well. I guess a couple Wednesdays ago, threw very well in a day game in tough situation in Chicago, and came up and did. We were very happy with that. And so we recalled him. He will pitch out of the bullpen for tonight, tomorrow if need be, and then he'll start fitting back into the rotation to be a starter.
With Greg Vaughn stepping in, we want to take a look at some of the numbers and get you to talk to us a little bit about the prospects. Ted Lilly, Peter Bergeron, and Jonathan Tucker. And we'll come back to those as we watch Greg Vaughn here, who bounced out on a hard shot to Andrews in the first inning. And a key hitter for Miguel Batista tonight in this lineup, trying to handle Greg Vaughn, who has hit 38 home runs. Expos up 2-1. Vaughn on a pace to hit 56, so he needs to pick it up a notch if he's going to make a run along with McGuire and Sosa and Ken Griffey Jr. By the way, Mark McGuire and Sammy Sosa, who played today, did not hit home runs. So McGuire's at 45, a pace for 67. Sosa at 42, a pace for 61, which is the current record, of course. Here's the 1-0 pitch, throw to first base.
But when they get closer and closer to those records, it's amazing how much additional pressure is going to be put on the likes of these so-called Fab Four. You mentioned about also Ken Griffey Jr., who's in the hunt too, and Greg Vaughn having a banner year for the Padres.
Griffey was also homerless today. Here's a ground ball off the glove of Batista. Mordecai throws to first for the third out of the inning. And we'll get to those prospects and the general manager's comments in a moment. 2-1 Montreal midway in the third. These are the players acquired by the Expos that will go to the minors. Ted Lilly going to Ottawa, Peter Bergeron and Jonathan Tucker to Harrisburg. Jim, let's start with the left-hander Ted Lilly.
Yeah, Ted is a left-hander who started out in Double-A this year. You can see his numbers are very good. If you added the walks to strikeouts, almost a strikeout an inning, and strikeout to walk ratio about 3-1. So low ERA in a pretty good hitters league, in Texas League as well. He's come up to Triple-A, actually 1-3. He only lost one ball game badly. The other ones were, I believe, 3-2 and 4-2. Has thrown well. Bergeron is a guy primarily, I think I alluded to it last night. He's like their center fielder out there right now, Steve Finley. And he runs probably better than Finley. May not have as much pop as Finley, but someone who can be an exciting leadoff hitter. 6'2", about 180, 185. Tucker quickly, in about 2 or 3 outs, you're going to have to catch up here after I get through this. Okay? Tucker's first baseman got some hits for average and power. Got a lot of doubles. You see the 34 doubles. Left-handed hitter also plays a little outfield as well.
Throws Cabrera out at first base, 1 away in the third inning, as we continue our visit with Vice President and General Manager Jim Beattie discussing the 7-player deal made with the Dodgers. Gary?
Well, the one question that I wanted to bring to Jim was obviously the acquiring of Wilton Guerrero. That's got to be very pleasing to his brother Vladimir, and I'm sure that that's also involved in the hopes to sign Vladimir maybe to a multi-year contract in the future.
Well, I think more so than anything, that's a byproduct. The main deal is, you know, what's the player like on the team? How does it fit into what we're trying to do offensively and defensively?
Right.
Then you have to look at all the other pluses. Whenever you bring a player in, you know, what's the makeup of the player, his health, all of that is a part and parcel of how he fits in and makes the club better. If he fits in and he makes Vladimir happier and things work out, that's a main guy down there.
Yes, it is. And what a year he is having, too.
Yes, you know, I get back I guess it was the first inning. You got second and third, you got Vladimir up. It still amazes me that they pitched to him.
Oh, I agree.
You got a base open. I don't think they realize how good this kid is yet. We see him daily, but they don't realize how good this kid is.
And I made a point that I thought that Langston was going to try to pitch around him with an open base, and yet Vladimir lined one right back through the middle.
He may have tried to pitch around him, but instead of pitching away around him, he came in where you make a mistake. Boom, 2 runs.
Exactly.
Here's a 1-out walk to Robert Perez, and here comes Vladimir Guerrero. We'll continue talking about Guerrero with Jim Beattie. In this season in particular, where Guerrero has come into his own, It seems to me that he is a scout's nightmare, because I wouldn't know what kind of a report to give the manager as to how to pitch him, because we have seen him hit about everything thrown up in the vicinity of home plate.
Well, you know, Gary may, you know, you talk about, for me, he's a guy you really don't know how to pitch to. You can't pitch him in all the time. You can't pitch him away. If he's looking someplace, it could be a foot away from really a strike, and he's still going to get hit it hard.
Right.
You've seen him hit balls about a foot or half a foot off the ground and hit a P to left center field. You've seen him hit high strikes, inside, outside. It's amazing the way, especially with what looks like a very long swing.
Oh, yeah.
He's got some tremendous hand-eye.
And the ball just jumps off of his bat, and he can get fooled on pitches, look bad, and still hit line
That's what he did the other night with that home run. He was out in front of that, and at the end he had enough going, and he flipped it out, and it ended up being a home run.
2 balls and a strike to Vladimir Guerrero, who knocked in the 2 Expos runs in the first inning. The Expos lead 2-1 here in the 3rd inning. I asked his manager about a week ago, said, if you were managing against him, what would you tell your pitchers? He said, hard up and in, but don't make a mistake. A ball down the left field line to the corner. Guerrero on his way to second, and Perez has been waved. Here's the relay to the plate. Perez is safe at the plate. Guerrero at second base. He's driven in all 3. And it's 3-1 Montreal. And Guerrero's putting on a big show for the disco night crowd and for his brothers.
Yeah, you got to believe that he's excited that his brother is here. And you said about a mistake, Dave. Well, Langston makes another mistake. He comes back inside. Caminetti with a great effort, but was unable to come up with it as it rolls all the way to the wall. And look at the apprehension on Greg Vaughn. He didn't want to try and cut it off. You would see other left fielders try to do that, but instead Robert Perez is waved home. Expos lead it 3-1.
You know, Mark Langston just doesn't have enough velocity to make those mistakes inside anymore, and that's how he's trying to pitch him, and he's still making those mistakes.
Shane Andrews pops the ball up, and Wally Joyner is back there at the bullpen mound, falls down and can't make the catch. He was in unfamiliar territory. In his home park, he wouldn't make the mistake, but he got back there up against the bullpen mound and went down here at Olympic Stadium.
You know, and Wally Joyner is so sure-handed. He's a very good quality first baseman, and you feel embarrassed when a play like this happens. You've got the ball in sights and you trip over the mound, and there's nothing you can do about it. Kilby O'Barris was right there. If anything, the second baseman's got to say, hey, watch out for the mound. But instead, Joyner takes a tumble, and Shane Andrews has got another shot.
Actually, given that play, that's Veris's ball. Recognizing the mound is there and the first baseman's backing up, he should have called Wally up the whole way.
The pitch is low to Shane Andrews.
But what happens so many times when you have a gold glove, sure-handed first baseman, the second baseman will kind of just go ahead and say, you take it. I don't need to. But in that case, it just turned out on the negative end.
1 down, Guerrero at second, and a 1-1 count on Shane Andrews. Andrews bouncing the ball to shortstop, Chris Gomez. 2 away, and Guerrero at third base.
Good recognition there by Vladimir, taking off immediately when the ball was hit on the ground. Now Gomez, if he would have stopped right away, he might have had a shot at Vlad at third base, but he took the sure out at first base, and Guerrero moves up a base.
Yeah, with no outs, he may have taken the shot at third. With 1 out, he figures he gets this out, next guy out, no run scored.
Exactly.
Bob Henley, the batter. He lined out to the left fielder Greg Vaughn in the second. I suppose on the 1st of August it's too early to talk about the 1st of September, but there will be call-ups. Here's a ground ball to third, and Caminetti throws to the stretching Wally Joyner. And we'll save that for another time closer to the 1st of September. Jim, thanks for the visit.
You bet, David.
Expos General Manager Jim Beattie guesting with us. The Expos have a 3-1 lead at the end of 3.
Together, it's up to you. What's your pleasure?
Our next Expos telecast coming up next Saturday. And it'll be the Arizona Diamondbacks in town. Arizona series will close out the Expos' longest homestand of the year. So the Diamondbacks and the Expos next Saturday night here on TSN. Here comes Wally Joyner, then Steve Finley and Greg Myers. (3-1) Expos. They've scored 3 runs on 4 hits, and the Padres have a run on 2 hits. And Batista to Joyner in a called strike. And it probably is too early to talk about September 1st call-ups. You have to see what the shape of the major league club is in physically, and see how the minor league teams do, who's in playoffs, who's not,
exactly.
Who's well, who's healthy, and then decisions will be made. There's a ball hit down the left field line, and it is a foul ball.
I would say for the Expos part, Dave, we probably won't see a lot of call-ups. I would say there might be a few look-sees, but for the most part, they already have the ball club that they're establishing for the future. So it's just a matter that there might be 1 or 2 players that they might call up that would do their worth because of the job that they did maybe at the AA or AAA level.
And one of the other considerations too, players that would be given even an outside chance of making the club next year. Felipe would want to see them this fall if they're going to be in training camp with the Expos next spring. A line drive over Cabrera and a base hit for Joyner. So a leadoff hit for the Padres here in the 4th inning, the 3rd hit allowed by Batista.
Well, the one thing about Wally Joyner, watch how quiet he is at the plate. See, he gets his hands going. His head is still. He just fights off that pitch and lines it back through the middle. But the thing that makes Wally Joyner such a good hitter is that he uses his hands extremely well.
Joyner at first, Finley up, fly to center his first time, and ball 1 to Steve Finley, 33-year-old 10-year veteran. Finley taking a strike from Batista.
You mentioned about the veteran that Steve Finley is. The Padres have several veterans on their ball club, the likes of Tony Gwynn and Finley, obviously Ken Caminetti. Greg Vaughn's been around for a while. Kilvio Veras a few years. Wally Joyner a number of years. So they really have, for the most part, a real veteran ball club.
1 ball, 2 strikes the count.
Even when you're looking at the pitching staff, Kevin Brown's been around for a while. Sterling Hitchcock, Mark Langston, obviously we talked about, and Andy Ashby, Joey Hamilton. And they've just got a ball club that has really established themselves this year. They also acquired Jimmy Leyritz. He's helped.
Ground ball through the right side between Fulmer and Mordecai. Guerrero gets it back in. And the Padres have something going now. Runners at first and second and nobody out.
Don't you agree, Dave, when you see a veteran ball club that have played a number of years, and now this ball club, they've played now a couple of years together, but when you see that happen, you also see them make the little things happen. They move runners across. They make plays in the field to pick a ball club up, and they do it sometimes in a quiet way, but nevertheless they get the job done, and they always find a way in order to win.
Part of the winning formula. Yep. Absolutely, being able to seize the opportunity. Greg Myers up, walked his first time, left-hand hitting catcher, and 2 Padres aboard. Number 8 hitter Chris Gomez on deck. And a ground ball to the left side. Up with it, Cabrera to Mordecai. 1 on the first 2. And a good job done there by Cabrera, and in particular by Mordecai, who had Steve Finley all over him.
No question, Finley trying to break it up, and you really have to credit Cabrera for initiating this play, because he gets rid of it really rather quickly, and Mordecai with a good pivot even though Finley upended him, Myers does not do his job, although Joyner moves to third base.
2 down, runner at third, and Chris Gomez, who flied to center his first time up, is the batter. 3-1 Expos.
If there was a time to get a double play ball, it was then, especially with nobody out. It's surprising that Bruce Bochy didn't have Myers maybe bunt or even implement a hit and run there.
Two balls, no strikes to Gomez. Langston is on deck. And perhaps the thinking here is, why give Gomez anything at all to hit with the pitcher Mark Langston on deck?
Exactly, and they'll probably throw a breaking ball here. They do, but it's high, and that's okay. You miss with it. If you walk them, it's no big deal. Scott Sanders, who was throwing earlier, is gone back down to the bullpen once again to begin to get loose. There he is.
Sanders just got there, so Bochy's thinking about pinch hitting for Langston if Gomez gets on.
Right.
Sanders going to have a short warm-up period, although it's his second time up. Probably doesn't require a long warm-up period. Gomez started to go after it, did, according to the plate umpire. Plate umpire is the crew chief, Jim Quick. And he's working with Pat Connors at first, and Jeff Kellogg at second, and Kerwin Danley at third base, and that's the chief, Jim Quick. 3 balls, 2 strikes to Gomez. 4th inning. Now Gomez draws a walk. Now Langston heads to the plate.
See, I was a little bit surprised that Bruce Bochy ended up not having Gomez swing first pitch, and now Langston has been called back, so Bochy with a quick hook as a pinch hitter will now hit for Mark Langston. But the 3-0 count, why not have Gomez just try it, one shot, green light him? Instead, he missed. I mean, he threw a strike Batista did, and then he comes back and misses with a pitch, but Gomez swung, and then he missed way outside. So anyway, Mark Langston works just 3 innings. He's out of this contest, and now the pinch hitter will be Mark Sweeney.
Mark Sweeney, a left-handed batter, coming up here to hit for Langston. 2 outs, runners at first and third. So the Padres feel that they are in trouble pinch hitting in the 4th inning. They're behind 3-1, but the other side of it is they don't have a dominant pitcher in this game in Mark Langston.
Right. And I was kind of surprised that maybe the Padres were not included in all that trading to maybe get one more starting pitcher to really get them over the hump.
I guess there are several teams with that left out feeling today.
Well, definitely, but I was very surprised right at the end of the deadline that Randy Johnson ended up going to the Houston Astros. You got to believe, Dave, that that's going to really solidify that pitching staff and make them not only a good chance of winning that Central Division as they still maintain the lead over the Chicago Cubs, but also give them a big shot in the arm for the playoffs.
When Randy Johnson's name was attached to a possible deal with the Atlanta Braves, there was some talk by some baseball people about Johnson being used as a closer. Pitches inside the ball. Wow. Mark Sweeney. Atlanta, of course, was looking for a closer. They've run into a huge problem with Mark Wahlers.
Yeah, he can't find the plate right now. It's amazing, but I'm surprised that they didn't at least get somebody additionally if they weren't able to get a Randy Johnson.
The Braves were interested in Ugueth Urbina, the Expos closer. Urbina, of course, is still here.
Yeah, but that would have had to come with a huge price tag.
Oh, yeah.
Also.
So my question to you is this: with all that in mind,
right,
and Billy Wagner, the Houston closer, on the shelf, out after being hit, and no sign yet of coming back.
Right.
Here's the 2-1 pitch to Sweeney, and Sweeney sends a ball in the air to center field, and he's got it. Terry Jones chases it down for the 3rd out of the inning, and a couple of runners are left, and we'll get back to that thought in a moment. 3 innings innings of work. Mark Langston's line, 55 pitches, Gary.
Yeah, 23 in the first inning, and the Expos tagged him for 2, added another one in the third. And when his spot came up in the order, Bruce Bochy elected to go to a pinch hitter. Mark Sweeney flew out to dead center field, so he's gone. Scott Sanders comes on, newly acquired and appearing in his 7th game for the Padres. You see the rest of his numbers there. Does have the 9 strikeouts and 8 2/3 innings of work.
Brad Fulmer walked his first time up. And first ball hitting, hits one foul out of play up above the Padre bullpen. Padres here for a couple of more days against the Expos. A day game tomorrow and a day game on Monday. Now, the question I was going to get back to, having talked about Randy Johnson and other situations, do you think that without Billy Wagner, for a moment, Larry Dierker and the Astros would consider using Randy Johnson as a closer?
Possibly, just to get him going in the back in the National League again. But I think Randy would prefer to start, obviously, and if he happens to fit right into that rotation with the likes of Shane Reynolds and Mike Hampton, I think that certainly he could use that shot in the arm, and Randy Johnson can provide that for him.
I understand that already, as we look at Scott Sanders, who's taken over from Mark Langston, 1-2 on Fulmer. Already, Randy Johnson's people have said that the big unit will do all he can to help take the Astros all the way. And that then, at the end of the season, they want to get him back in the American League.
Really?
Now, that's what I have heard.
Well, it's going to take a pretty high price tag, too, because he's making some pretty good change right now, and it's going to be interesting to see in his free agent year, which he will become eligible for at the end of this year. It's going to be interesting to see who actually does end up signing him.
Fulmer pulls a single through the right side, and he's on base for the second time. So Scott Sanders gives up a hit. Sanders, who has replaced Mark Langston. Well, when Langston was an Expo in 1989, he was here for just 24 starts, and he was a different pitcher then. He was a power pitcher, one of the premier strikeout pitchers in all of baseball. Let's check him out. I don't know who he was pitching against here. This is Langston in the Expos uniform. Doesn't matter who he's facing. But here is Langston in his heyday, when he could hit his spots and he could throw hard and get the ball over any time he needed to with great velocity.
Shoot, I don't remember striking out twice against him. I do remember hitting a double off of him once, but we would have to show the strikeouts.
Was that you?
Yeah, that happened to be me.
I wasn't paying any attention.
Oh, you really weren't?
I was concentrating on just Langston in his prime.
And the way his delivery was, and the velocity.
That's it.
Okay, I understand.
And they used to hang all those K's up there on the bleachers, right in front of the bleachers.
Okay. I got you.
A pitch out here and facing Mike Mordecai.
Didn't happen to notice
but I do remember that night in particular, and I remember those 2 K's being hung right up there along with the others.
Right above the number 8 there now. That's out there right
in this ballpark. And that was a game here at Olympic Stadium.
Right.
He faced you twice in this ballpark.
Right.
And on June 28th, he beat the Mets and struck out 10. And on September 17th, he beat the Mets and struck out 9.
Okay. And I happen to be 2 of those. And I appreciate the truck showing that. It makes me feel good that they showed a couple of my accomplishments. You know?
A lot of research went into that. 1-1 the count on Mordecai. An infield hit in the second. He takes low.
But did you see how good the quality of pitches were? Good, crisp breaking ball that struck me out the first time. Good live fastball on the outside corner the second time.
My observation recalling that night was those pitches were unhittable.
They were.
No question.
I had to tip my hat to the man. He was awesome that night.
Fulmer at first base. And Mordecai up. Inning number 4 for the Expos. They lead 3-1. Fulmer drawing the throw at first base.
And Mordecai was squaring to bunt, and on the 2-1 count, I wonder if that was show, but It just appears as though that Mordecai is up there to do a job.
Shows bunt here. Gets it down first base side. Picked up by Sanders. He tags Mordecai, and the sacrifice puts Fulmer at second. Let's go to baseball tonight. Here's Rod.
And Dave, an update on the Blue Jays at the Metrodome in Minnesota. And Jose Cruz, with all the dealing, just called up from Syracuse. First inning, drives in a pair with a double. Shannon Stewart and Sean Green in. 2-0 Toronto now in the bottom of the first inning.
With the Expos up 3-1. And Mordecai bunting the runner over. Fulmer in scoring position. Felipe Alou now makes a move and sends Derek May up. And so Dave Stewart, the pitching coach of the Padres, wants to go out and talk to Myers and Sanders about Derek May.
Yeah, Derek May, Dave Stewart has seen a couple of times. May have even pitched to him, but nevertheless, Derek May is up there to pinch hit for Miguel Batista. And you got to credit Batista for going 4 strong innings, allowing just the 1 run and 4 hits to the Pods. But Felipe wants to bring in a fresh arm. Now, keep in mind, Batista has spent most of the time in the bullpen lately, so that's the reason for the pinch hitter. Mordecai does his job. I was a little bit surprised also, Dave, that Sanders fielded that ball because the ball seemed to have been going foul. But anyway, Mordecai does his job, sacrifices Fulmer, and now Derek May up there to try and drive him in.
Let me ask you this question. This may be tough, and it's not a second guess, just a first guess.
Okay.
If Miguel Batista had shown the ability to get a bunt down,
right,
and a better job in the second, would he still be in the game?
No, I don't believe so, because that wasn't this wouldn't have been the position for him anyway if Mordecai is going to bunt Fulmer over.
There's already 1 out.
Right. So I think Felipe's thinking is here, and especially since Derek May has done such a good job now since his return from Ottawa, and as a pinch hitter, 10 for 25 on the year with 2 RBIs, figures that he's swinging the bat pretty good, so why not put a guy up there that's capable of driving a run in?
One pitch from Sanders. Missed inside, 2 balls and a strike.
And remember, we had talked earlier that I'm sure Felipe was just hoping to get 5 full innings out of Miguel Batista, but because of the situation and having the hitter come up in this particular inning, well, Miguel Batista is patted on the back. He did a great job. Now you put a pinch hitter in for him.
May pops the ball up. That'll go to the stands.
The only unfortunate thing for Batista is that he's not going to be in line for the victory, because he wasn't able to pitch the required 5 innings. But there's the line on him, 67 pitches. Not so bad for a guy coming out of the bullpen, and did have the 1 strikeout, 3 base on balls. But as far as we're concerned up here, Miguel Batista does his job, especially filling in for the now traded Carlos Perez.
2 balls, 2 strikes to Derek May. May checks his swing. It is outside. 3-2.
Well, with an open base, Sanders is being a little bit cautious with Derek May. Derek May, you can go up around the letters on him, or maybe Sanders might try to backdoor him with a breaking ball. Let's see. Well, he took a little something off there. Instead of trying to come after him on a 3-2 pitch, Sanders elected to take a little something off on Derek May. We'll try and pick up what signs that Myers is calling with a runner on second base. Wiggle, 2-1. And then maybe after he shook it off, he goes back with another pitch, which might be the first sign, and he goes fastball away. And how about that?
May lines a ball into left center. Coming to third, Fulmer. And May goes on to second and is in there safely. Good job of running the bases by May after seeing where that throw was going. Should Fulmer have done a better job of recognizing the hit, Gary?
Absolutely. I was going to point that out. Yes, credit Derek May for a heads-up job of base running. The ball was hit into the gap, and I don't know what Fulmer was thinking, that maybe Steve Finley was going to come up with this ball, but I mean, to tell you, you got to turn the afterburners on, because Finley had to turn himself completely around to make the throw. And when Fulmer was indecisive, hey, Pete Buchanan was still waving him home, but then he turned the brakes on, or put the brakes on, and Derek May took advantage of the throw and got into second base. And now, now the Padres infield has to play in.
Terry Jones, a batter, and he'll bat left-handed against the right-hander. And Jones smacks the ball foul down the left field line. So you had good base running on one part, the part of Derek May, poor base running on the part of Brad Fulmer, who should have scored, and a shocked and startled center fielder, Steve Finley, who wheeled his throw right to the plate because he expected to have a play perhaps on Fulmer.
Exactly. He wheeled and fired right away, and you would expect Fulmer to have been able to score. You hopefully don't. You hope that it doesn't come back to haunt you, that Terry Jones can come through here and at least drive one of those runs in.
One strike pitch and a called strike. That time Sanders just clipping the outside corner. 0-2 the count on Terry Jones.
See, as a base runner, you have to really recognize where the players are all positioned, and when a ball is hit, you've got to recognize it right away and know when you can score and when you got to throw the brakes on.
Outside to Jones, 1 ball, 2 strikes. Jones walked and scored in the first inning, flied out in the second. Up against Scott Sanders. Second time around with the Padres, broke in with San Diego. Went to Seattle and Detroit, now back to the Padres. 2 balls, 2 strikes from Sanders to Jones. Sanders, 29 years old now, 6'4". Jones with a little tapper, first base side. Sanders comes to the plate. Runner is safe. A high tag and a slide by Fulmer, and he got in.
Well, he didn't make it in on the Derek May pinch hit, but he makes it in on a very good slide and avoids the tag of Greg Myers on a tapper, which was fielded cleanly by Scott Sanders. He wields and fires, and Myers just was not able to apply the tag, hit the thigh of Brad Fulmer. As Fulmer gets his foot in, it was very close, and I think Bruce Bochy's beef was the fact that Myers did tag him before the foot got onto the plate. But Jim Quick saw it otherwise. Credit Terry Jones with the RBI, and now the Expos have runners at the corners.
Fulmer scoring run number 4 for the Expos, 4-1. They lead the Padres here in the 4th, and Orlando Cabrera will bat. 1 out, and runners at first and third. Cabrera singled in the first, scored a run, bounced out in the third, and a fake at third and a look at first. And would the Padres try a couple of things here to try to see if anything's on with the Expos?
That's exactly what that play was put on for, just to see if maybe Terry Jones, who has great speed at first base, was going to take off, and they were going to try and pick him off.
Foul ball back to the right.
Shane Bennett has been loosening up in the Expos pen now that Felipe Alou has hit for Miguel Batista. Derek May comes through once again. Although Fulmer didn't score on his hit, at least he scored on the little tapper by Terry Jones. So the Expos lead it by 3 and are still threatening. Now, why would they put it on again? It didn't work the first time, and that move was worse than the first one. But obviously, Bruce Bochy has thoughts that Felipe Alou is going to get his men running, and Terry Jones a good lead at first base.
Cabrera with a half swing sends a ball foul to the end of the Expos dugout. Orlando Cabrera, a native of Colombia, talked a lot about the poor playing surface at Olympic Stadium. It's a surface, cement hard in some spots, got some soft spots, and as somebody once put it, some trap doors here and there, and that the surface here is not in good playing shape at all. A lot of big leaguers have complained. Cabrera said he thinks it's great. Well, he has no problem with the playing surface here. Here's the 0-2 to Cabrera, and it's low and a ball. Because you see, if you grow up in Colombia playing on the fields he played on,
right,
with rocks and stones and wood and trees and everything that you can imagine, you learn to play on those fields. You can play anywhere. So this is a dream to him.
Absolutely. And that carpet, even though it's a little worn out, still has some pretty true bounces and hops. And Cabrera's just happy to be in the big leagues.
And he's got great hands. Pops the ball into the air, left center. Center fielder Steve Finley under it, tagging May. Here comes a throw. Here comes a play at the plate, and May is out at the plate. Finley to Myers. Four to 1 Montreal at the end of 4 at Olympic Stadium. Here's Steve Finley's play now. He's caught the ball. There's Derek May looking for the catch, and he's going to tag up, Gary.
Yes, and that's why it's important for the third base coach to let May know when to go. But a good throw by Finley nails Derek May. Another look, and also credit Greg Myers for coming back. The throw offline just a hair. But Steve Finley, a former Gold Glove winner, and Cabrera upset with himself that he was not able to come through and give the Expos another run.
Shane Bennett is the new pitcher. Miguel Batista went 4 innings, gave up 1 run, and scattered 4 hits. Batista had 1 strikeout, and he walked 3. And now Shane Bennett is on.
I was just going to say, once again, the Padres defense comes through. You had mentioned earlier about how well they have played on the season, first in the league in club fielding, and that just gives another indication of how well they do play in the field.
1 ball, 2 strikes to Kelby O'Barris. The top of the San Diego order here in the 5th, and both clubs into the bullpens. So this will be a if the Expos are to win the game, it'll be a bullpen win because the starter did not go 5. Right now, Langston's the pitcher of decision for the Padres. Mordecai with a play. 1 down, and a closer look at the Australian, Shane Bennett.
And appearing in his 44th game of the year, picked up his first major league save the other day. Opposing hitters hitting .260 against Shane Bennett, but you see his record at 3-4. The rest of his numbers, strikeouts to base on balls ratio, not too bad. 45 of them, and 65 2/3 innings of work.
One strike on Tony Gwynn, who singled in the first inning, grounded out in the 3rd inning. 1 ball and 1 strike to Gwynn.
Just wanted to point out to the folks, watch Tony Gwynn and his approach to hitting. See, he gets a little bit of timing mechanism going there. Doesn't take a long stride. Fouled that pitch off. The ball was up a bit, but he just has that special knack. Obviously, you have to have great eyes as a hitter too, but Tony Gwynn just has that way of being able to make contact. He doesn't strike out very much. He has only struck out 13 times the whole year. So you know that Tony Gwynn, when he's up at the plate, is going to make some sort of contact, and most of the time when he puts it in play, it turns out to be a hit.
The pitch to Gwynn taken. Gwynn in winning his 4th consecutive batting championship last year. Hit .372 in '97. Lifted his career average by 3 points. There's a ball in the air to the center fielder Terry Jones. And Gwynn is out number 2 here in the 5th, facing Shane Bennett. This telecast is presented by authority of the Montreal Expos Baseball Club and may not be reproduced or retransmitted without the consent of the Montreal Expos. The Expos lead this game 4-1 in the 5th inning, and Ken Caminetti will be the batter. Caminetti has doubled and walked, so he's been on twice. Padres down by 3 runs. Caminetti has been hurt a couple of times this year. A foul ball back into the seats. And 1 ball and 1 strike.
Caminetti, though, Dave, is one of those impact type players, and they really need his services, especially down the stretch run. He was the unanimous choice for MVP back in the 1996 season when he had 40 home runs and 130 RBI.
Caminetti this year was out of action good part of the month of May. Missed 21 games in May with a strained left quadricep. Ground ball first base side for Fulmer. Gives to Bennett covering, and Shane Bennett, the big right-hander, got a 3-up, 3-down inning under his belt here in the 5th. 4-1 Montreal. Well, we're looking at the great hitters a while ago. Here's number 3,000 for Paul Molitor. Paul Molitor at the Metrodome against the Jays tomorrow, 1:30 Eastern and 10:30 a.m. Pacific time. Labatt Blue Jays baseball coming up. The Jays and the Twins from the Metrodome.
How about that? That was Paul Molitor's 3,000th hit that was just shown there, and quite a momentous occasion there, but a triple nevertheless. What a nice way to get your 3,000th hit.
4-1 Expos here, inning number 5. Blue Jays have a 2-0 lead on the Twins tonight at the Metrodome. Robert Perez leads it off. Scored a run in the 3rd inning after reaching on a walk. Officially 0 for 1 on the night. 1 strike to Perez from the relief pitcher, Scott Sanders, in long relief for Mark Langston, who went 3. Perez with a count 0-2 now. Batting just .239. Still not swinging the bat with the same authority he was prior to the wrist injury.
No, I was just going to point that out to you, and I'm sure you have recognized that. Obviously, you would not have said something, but that's the thing that I look for right away. When someone has a wrist injury, a hand injury, a broken finger, a dislocated finger, something of that nature, you watch how they swing the bat, if they swing it with authority, or whether or not they're tentative, and it seems like Perez has been tentative.
One ball, 2 strikes to Robert Perez. Interesting to see with Mark Bressolana out of the picture now, who had been batting in the number 3 spot, how Felipe goes about rebuilding this batting order. We do know that Felipe intends to use Wilton Guerrero as the number 2 hitter, where Cabrera's hitting tonight. There's a play for Caminetti. 1 down in the 5th inning. And they will use both Terry Jones and Orlando Cabrera in the leadoff spot. When one or the other is in there, somebody's got to hit 8.
Well, it's going to be interesting, too. F.P. Santangelo, he comes off the disabled list, and he gets bonked twice. One of them happens to be in the calf, and it was extremely swollen, and one of the reasons that he's not playing tonight. So you got to think about F.P. being back in the picture. I guess he'll hit back down in that lineup, and might be 7th or 8th. Just depends on where Felipe decides to put him.
Probably the true answer to who the number 3 hitter is with the Expos right now is that they don't have a number 3 hitter.
That's correct.
There's a ball in the air right center. Finley. And Guerrero is out. Guerrero is, of course, the team's best number 3 hitter. But with Rondell White disabled, Guerrero has to hit in the cleanup spot. And that leaves a third spot open, and it'll probably be somewhat of a revolving door for a while.
Yes, it will. And I love the point that was brought up earlier about, you know, the scouts that are out there watching Vladimir Guerrero and all, and you say, well, what kind of scouting report do you come up with him? And then it was interesting to hear Jim Beattie say these guys that pitch to him just don't know how good Vladimir Guerrero really is. But it's interesting that Vlad's hitting as well as he is and not really having a lot of support around him.
Shane Andrews hit into a double play in the first inning, grounded to shortstop in the third inning. The Expos leading 4-1. A called strike. With the schedule the way it is these days, this is just the second meeting of the season between the Expos and the Padres. Their first game against one another was played here last night. San Diego winning 5-4.
Yes, and they're playing during this series, and then they'll go out to the West Coast, and they will play 4 more in San Diego at the end of August, August 28th, 29th, 30th, and 31st. So they've got the Expos could play a very big part in the divisional title for the Padres.
3 balls, 2 strikes to Shane Andrews. The Expos homestand will continue all next week. After the Padres finish up the Monday afternoon game here, the Los Angeles Dodgers come to town. And the Dodgers will play the Expos next Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, an afternoon game. And here's one to circle on your sports calendar. Thursday, August 6th, Expos and the Dodgers. Carlos Perez will pitch for the Dodgers against the Expos.
It's going to be kind of fun to look and see what he is going to look like in a Dodger uniform, as well as Mark Grudzielanek as well.
Andrews chops one to Caminetti. 3 up, 3 down for Scott Sanders against the Expos in the 5th. We'll go to the 6th inning, 4-1 Montreal. The Expos have a 4-1 lead. We go to the 6th inning with the Padres coming to bat. Greg Vaughn, strike 1.
Before you talked about the Nikon ad, they were showing some more from this disco night. Gal with yellow hair. I don't think that I would have gotten quite that far into the yellow hair.
Here's a high pop up behind third. Andrews looking, and he's going to run out of room.
I mean, I don't remember there being that many funky looking outfits to that extent. I mean, Dennis Rodman has obviously changed some of the looks of hairdos, but there, see, yellow hair, also
yellow, green, blue.
Yeah,
got it all. Got silver. Vaughn down on strikes. Let's check out Shane Bennett's work on Greg Vaughn.
Well, he kept most pitches away, and then that last pitch, sinking splitter, and the bottom drops out of it, and Vaughn comes up empty.
Wally Joyner, 1 for 2, had a leadoff single in the 4th inning and was stranded at third base. 4-1 Expos. Ball 1 to Joyner. Ball bounced toward first base. Fulmer has this, takes it to the bag for out number 2. Shane Bennett has spaced 5 and retired 5. And the batter will be Steve Findlay, the center fielder, who's 1 for 2. I guess if we look at the 90s, Gary, and we look for dramatic changes in the middle of the Expos infield, you would go back to 1990, which was the first year that veteran shortstop Spike Owen was teamed up with Delino DeShields.
Right.
As the shortstop second base combo. And that didn't change until 1993, when Will Cordero became the Expos shortstop and was teamed up with Delino DeShields. And it appeared at the time that Cordero would probably be there for a long time. Well, that didn't work out. Then the next major change was the start of the 1995 season. Mark Gresselanek was teamed up with Mike Lansing. That pitch is low and a ball. And they are the three significant changes in the 90s at short and second for the Expos until tomorrow afternoon, when Orlando Cabrera will again go out to his position at shortstop, and Wilton Guerrero will go out and play at second base for the Expos. So it'll be Cabrera and Guerrero. Two balls, two strikes to Finley.
The C and G combo. Cabrera, Guerrero. But you know what? It should be a good combination. They're both very good fielders. Both have very good range. And I'm sure they'll start working together, taking ground balls and having some exchanges and getting a feel for one another. And it should be exciting.
Well, without having researched this or thought about it, think of the significance for the Guerreros. Wilton Guerrero on the right side of the infield playing at second. Finley lifts a fly ball. And here comes the speedy Terry Jones in front of Vladimir Guerrero for the third out of the inning. Finley out on the fly ball to the center fielder, and nothing for the San Diego Padres here.
Another update from the Jays and the Twins at the Metrodome. 2 more runs for Toronto in the form of this 2-run shot by Jose Canseco. Jose's got 31 home runs now. The Jays have a 4-0 lead. Back to David Gary.
And the bottom of the 6th inning, 4-1 Montreal. Henley, Fulmer, and Mordecai. Scott Sanders on the mound. Gave up a run in the 4th inning. Pitched a perfect 5th. Continues on here into the 6th. One strike on Bob Henley. Now, there have been 83 brother combinations to play in the major leagues. But what I'm trying to think of just in the past few years, or let's just say the 90s,
right?
Who comes to mind? Obviously, Cal and Billy Ripken.
Right. I meant
a few years, but
yep.
Cal and Billy.
Right. And how about Aaron and Brett?
Aaron and Brett Boone.
In Cincinnati.
Absolutely.
And I'm wondering if the Maddox
team.
Yeah, I'm wondering if the Maddoxes. I'm trying to figure out. I don't think they have actually played against played with one another, but I know they've played against one another.
2 strikes on Bob Henley.
Nope. So there's no way he could have.
Make it strike 3. Brad Fulmer, the batter, has been on twice. A walk and a single. He scored the run in the 4th inning. That, by the way, is the first strikeout for Scott Sanders. So Fulmer up and then Mordecai. And of course, we're thinking about not just brothers that have played in the majors at the same time. We're talking about on the same team.
Right. And that doesn't happen very often. And as you
happened to Felipe and his brothers.
Yeah, Jesus and Matty.
Sure. Ball in the air to left field. Vaughn is there. 2 down. Mordecai will bat.
In fact, I would venture to say that probably there will never be another tandem of outfielders and on the same team playing together as did Jesus and Matty and Felipe. I doubt if there's going to be 3 at the same time that could fill those positions, especially in the outfield. Now, Aaron and Brett are both infielders, and I know that there's another brother, but he's in another organization.
Yeah.
So
that would take some doing.
Yes.
Mike Mordecai with an infield hit and a sacrifice bunt. 4-1 Montreal. Now to play to the right. Now, I do know that back in the 60s, very briefly, Henry Aaron and his brother Tommy Aaron were both up with the Braves.
Right. And I don't know if the Perry brothers, Jim and Gaylord, were ever together. but I know Gaylord pitched for a lot of different teams.
Yeah, see, a lot of the brother combos will come to us, the Nettles, Jim and Greg, and a lot of them will come to us, but on the same team, same time.
Right. Couldn't have happened too often. We got to come up with 83 different names, though.
Well, that's 8 combinations that have played in the majors, though, right? Not necessarily on the same team. We're looking to narrow this down to on the same team at the same time. At the
same time, right.
Let alone in right field and second base, one right behind the other.
Right.
There's a high pop-up, and Gomez back. Wants it. 3 up, 3 down for the Expos, and we'll go to the 7th inning on Disco Night in Montreal. It's 4-1 Expos.
Another update for the Blue Jays and the Twins of the Metrodome. It's like opening day again for Jose Cruz Jr. Just called up from Syracuse. Remember back in April he drove in 3. This is 4th home run of the season. He's driven in 3. It's 5-0 Blue Jays.
Now taking a look at the game story for tonight. And Ken Caminetti started the whole deal off with an RBI double in the first inning.
Yes, and gave the Padres the early lead, and then Vladimir Guerrero singled in 2 in the bottom half of the first inning, and then added another RBI in the 3rd inning. And then look at the job Miguel Batista did, although he's not in line to pick the victory up, but gave Felipe 4 strong innings.
Greg Myers, the catcher, has walked and hit into a double play. You know, Rod just mentioned Jose Cruz Jr. Now, did Heidi Cruz and Jose Cruz play together at St. Louis?
I think maybe briefly.
That's
Heidi, Hector,
yeah.
And I think it was briefly, and then Jose was shipped off to Houston.
Right.
Yeah.
They might have been up at the same time in St. Louis.
That's a good call.
Ball in the air to right field. Guerrero onto the track. Myers is out. Chris Gomez will be the batter. Gomez flied to center in the 2nd, walked in the 4th. Now we're in the 7th inning of this game. The Expos with a 4-1 lead.
And Jim Bruschi warming up in the Padres bullpen. Scott Sanders worked his 3 innings, and now there will be a pinch hitter as the pitcher spot is due up next.
One ball, no strikes to Gomez.
Andy Sheets is the on-deck hitter, and we would venture to say that he will hit for Scott Sanders as he worked his 3 innings. And now the Expos bullpen will begin to get loose, and Steve Klein starts the throw down there. Shane Bennett has done his job to this point. He's retired 7 in a row.
He has fallen behind here on Gomez, 3-1. With the pinch hitter on deck. Has walked Chris Gomez, and a little bit of an opening here for the San Diego Padres. That's their first base runner against Shane Bennett, who had retired 7 in a row since coming into the game. Now Sheets has been called back. Ed Giovanola has come out to the on-deck circle. In addition to the left-hander Klein in the Expos bullpen, right-hander Anthony Telford is going to begin working. And now heading out, Bob Henley, the catcher, to talk to Shane Bennett about this hitter, Ed Giovanola.
Yeah, Ed Giovanola used to be with the Braves, and I'm sure that it's also a little bit of a tactic to give a little extra time for Steve Klein. Anthony Telford joins Klein in the Expos pen. Giovanola, a left-handed hitter. And maybe this is just that stalling tactic that Felipe Alou is looking for, and maybe he will bounce out of the dugout. But as we see, Giovanola now settles in, and so Shane Bennett is pointing to Cabrera as to who will be covering in case the ball is hit back to him. A possible double play ball.
The left-handed batter, Giovanola, takes ball one. Giovanola claimed on waivers from the Atlanta Braves. He played briefly with Atlanta in the 95, 96, and 97 seasons. Ball is hit in the air to left. Robert Perez comes in and under it. And waiting halfway, Gomez goes back to first. The pinch hitter is out, 2 down. These are situations in which the Padres have excelled, being down and showing the ability to come back in a game. They're down by 3 runs here. You look back since June 7th of this season, and the Padres are 34-13. They've got the best record since that date in Major League Baseball.
That's pretty impressive, and Bruce Bochy certainly has done a good job. You have to also credit Kevin Towers, the general manager, for being able to acquire some key players. Jim Bruschi just recently from the Los Angeles Dodgers, and we'll probably see him pitch to the Expos lineup in the bottom of the 7th. But getting the likes of Ed Giovanola and certain guys that have Jim Leyritz, who have really solidified the bench for Kevin Towers and the Padres.
2 down, 1 on. Gomez at first base. Kilby Alvarez tonight has not had a ball out of the infield.
Because really, for the most part, as the Padres entered this 98 season, their lineup was pretty well set.
Padres started their current road trip in New York. Lost 2 out of 3 to the Mets. Came in and beat the Expos last night in a game that went right down to the final pitch, the bottom of the 9th, and won 5-4. And tonight the Padres find themselves down 4-1 in the 7th. 2 balls and a strike to Vargas from Shane Bennett.
You know, we just showed that stat on the Padres being the best team in baseball since June 7th, but there's always going to be a time during the course of the year that a ball club is going to go through some tough times. You just cannot stay consistent, really, for the most part, throughout the whole year. There's going to be some times, and maybe those couple of ball games in New York has brought the Padres a little bit back to earth, but there again, there's still a long way to go, and the dog days of August, as you talk about it, no time to get tired. It is a veteran ball club, but Bruce Bochy is certainly hoping that his Padres maintain the wide margin lead that they have over the San Francisco Giants and hopes to win another Western Division title.
3-1 to Vargas. And he has walked Vargas, and that could turn out to be one of the key pitches of the night. We'll wait and see. Only time will tell. Now 2 on with 2 outs. Here comes Felipe, and he's going to make a double switch.
Yes, Ryan McGuire is going to come in and appears to be taking over for Brad Fulmer as the pitcher spot is due up first in the bottom of the 7th inning. And you got to believe that Felipe was thinking about this confrontation all along, as now Steve Klein will face one of the premier hitters of all time in Tony Gwynn, but you got a left-handed pitcher facing a left-handed batter. And so this should be a very nice battle between these two, as Shane Bennett really does a good job and leaves with a nice applause from the crowd. And he is in line to pick up this victory. Anthony Telford continues to throw in the Expos pen. So this, with 2 out, could be a very, very big at bat for Tony Gwynn facing Steve Klein.
Well, here's a look at Klein's numbers. And what an assignment. Come into the game with a 3-run lead, 7th inning, against one of the game's all-time great hitters and one of the game's best clutch hitters.
Yes, but Steve Klein really has worked in a lot of ball games. We just had shown he is appearing in his 52nd game of the year, and you see the ERA at 3.15, but his task is right here. If he doesn't work to another batter and he gets Tony Gwynn out, then he's done his job, because Tony Gwynn as we mentioned, one of the premier hitters of all time, 8 batting titles, and is a very hot hitter lately, especially on this road trip. We mentioned about how he produced in New York, and Steve Kline comes on here now to try and save this one for Shane Bennett.
Tony Gwynn batted .300 for the 15th straight season last year. He has hit .350 in each of the last 5 seasons, a feat previously accomplished only by Ty Cobb, Rogers Hornsby, and Al Simmons in baseball history. Tony Gwynn up here 1 for 3 on the night, and as though to underscore what a great hitter he is, and certainly in this time for baseball, you know who he has more hits against than any other pitcher?
Please tell me.
Greg Maddux, considered to be the best.
Right. At this particular time.
At this particular time.
I agree. And you know what? Tony Gwynn is one of those type of guys that likes to rise to the occasion against some of the best. And it doesn't surprise me that he's got more hits off of Greg Maddux.
A called strike. 1 ball and 1 strike. Of course, he's been around longer than Maddux.
Yes.
This is Tony Gwynn's 17th year. Pitch by Kline, and a no contact swing there. 1 ball, 2 strikes. And just to set this up for you, Tony Gwynn has struck out only 13 times this season in 366 at-bats.
Looked for another breaking ball, but no, he goes fastball. Tried to sneak one by Gwynn, was not fooled by it. But you got to believe that Kline, who's more known to be a breaking ball pitcher, that you can probably see another one coming up.
Gwynn lines a single to right field, charged by Guerrero. Getting a good jump. Gomez has been waived and will score easily. On to third base, the runner Veras, and Gwynn knocks in a run, and it's a 4-2 game.
See, now that's why you just cannot make a mistake. You see Felipe Alou talking about the breaking ball there. Now, if you're going to miss with Tony Gwynn, you hope that he's going to go fishing. Maybe that bad swing on one breaking ball set up that swing right there, because look at Gwynn. Not much of a stride, stays right with the pitch, and finds a way of driving it into right field to drive in the Padres' second run. Now, that is just some fine hitting by a great hitter.
4-2 Expos, and Ken Caminiti is the batter, and he's the go-ahead run. Gwynn at first base, Veras at third base, 2 outs.
So you love to hear or see even the reactions of the skipper Felipe Alou, but I think the pitch that Kline needed was that pitch before that breaking ball that Gwynn hit. That fastball, which he missed with. Then he comes back with the other breaking ball and just was not able to fool Gwynn for the second time.
Caminiti, who doubled and knocked in a run in the first inning, 1 for 2 on the night with a walk. Kline catching the outside corner, 1-1.
Had a talk with Steve Kline not too long ago, Dave, and he was asking me about certain approaches to pitching, and one of the things is that Kline, when he does throw his fastball, he'll most of the time stay away. Then he'll use his curveball, which is most of the time his out pitch, but he definitely still has to throw in. Well, both of his strikes have been fastballs away, but Caminiti was probably looking breaking ball. Now you got a 1-2 count. You can option to another breaking ball, but Caminiti's certain to be maybe sitting on it. But then the best pitch would be go fastball in. Well, see, he got
the inside corner, and Caminiti on a check swing is called out on strikes. 4-2 Montreal, and the fans are up for the stretch at Olympic Stadium.
An update from Shea in New York, where the Dodgers finally break a scoreless tie in the 8th inning. Eric Young with the double to drive in Alex Cora. Carlos Perez went 7 innings, of shutout baseball, allowing only 2 hits. He stands to get the win. It's in the bottom of the 8th.
Well, on disco night, they've got the Village people out here doing the whole YMCA deal.
Yeah, reunited.
Fans up for the 7th inning stretch, and a new pitcher in the game, Jim Bruschi.
And Jim Bruschi, there's his numbers while being a Dodger, appearing in 37 games, 3-0 with a pretty fine 3.91 ERA. He's appearing in his 3rd game now since being acquired from the Dodgers. And he'll fill the middle relief for Bruce Bochy's Padres. And Bruschi did a great job for the Dodgers. A little bit of surprise that transpired in that trade. And he'll face the bottom of the Expos order as Ryan McGuire came in the double switch, which brought Steve Klein in. And he'll bat in the 9th spot. And then it'll be back to the top of the order.
McGuire batting just .218. And ball 1 from Bruschi to McGuire. Both teams scored in the 1st inning. Padres got a run. Caminetti knocked in a run. Then Vladimir Guerrero knocked in a couple, and the Expos have not looked back since then. Guerrero doubled in a 3rd run in the 3rd inning. Terry Jones ground ball, got a run in the 4th inning. Padres scored a run in the top of this inning on a hit by Tony Gwynn. And it's 4-2 here in the bottom of the 7th inning. 2 balls, a strike to McGuire from Bruschi. And McGuire hits a ground ball to shortstop. He is out at first base. Joyner with a good job. Had to leave his feet for just an instant there to get that ball. Came right back down quickly on the bag as Gomez's throw sailed just a little bit on him. And Wally Joyner, you can see what he has to do here to get the out. He's probably the best fielding first baseman who has not won a Gold Glove in the league.
Exactly. Very sure-handed, and on disco night did a little dance over there and was able to make the out.
Terry Jones been active in this game, walking, leadoff walk in the bottom of the 1st inning, scored the 1st run, has driven 1 in, officially 0 for 2. He tries to bunt his way on, slapped it foul off to the right side. Now there you could see, here is Jones batting left-handed, but he tried to push the ball to the right side. And one of the lost arts in baseball is the drag bunt. The drag bunt is done by a left-handed batter who starts to lean toward first base with his feet in the batter's box, of course, and bunts the ball, dragging the ball behind him as he takes off for first base.
Right.
And you rarely see it anymore.
Well, it's a game that people like to see a lot of home runs, so bunting is not talked about or even utilized as much anymore, and I think it's not practiced as much anymore. But when you've got a speedy runner at the top of the order and you want him to get on base and he's your table setter, I think it's very important to be able to know how to bunt. Not only push it, but be able to drag a bunt.
Bruschi going upstairs to strike out Terry Jones. Let's check in with Rod at Baseball Tonight.
And an update, Dave, from Kansas City, where the Royals have broken a 1-1 tie this way. Dean Palmer, his 25th home run, a 3-run shot, just fair in left field. 4-1 Kansas City over the O's.
Of course, they've got some innings to play there, but are they getting excited in Baltimore? They think that the Orioles have got a chance to make a move. Orioles go into that game having won 17 of their last 21 games.
Well, they certainly picked up a notch after the All-Star break, and one of the reasons why Angelos did not dismantle that team.
In the air to center, Finley under this, and a very quick, easy inning for Jim Bruschi, and the Expos go in order. We'll go to the 8th inning, 4-2 Montreal. taking a look at the San Diego lineup and who has done something and who has not.
Well, Tony Gwynn continues to have a great road trip. He's now 13 for 23, a 2-for-4 night with an RBI. He's got 3 on this road trip. See, Ken Caminetti got the double and the RBI in the first inning, but a big strikeout by Steve Klein to end the 7th with runners at first and third. So now he'll go to work on the middle part of the order, starting with Greg Vaughn.
Vaughn, first ball hitting, sends a fly ball to right field, and Guerrero's got it for the out. Vaughn last year was almost a Yankee, and I'm sure you'll recall that. July 4th, 1997, the Padres were sending Vaughn to the Yankees for Kenny Rogers and Mariano Duncan. Now, Vaughn had had surgery in 1995 on his rotator cuff, so the Yankees wanted to have an MRI taken before they would approve the deal. Well, the MRI involves an injection of dye into the joint, and it showed, the MRI did, a slight leak in that joint, which could lead to a problem. So Dr. Stuart Hershon, the Yankee physician that examined it, said, oh, there's signs of a leak. Could be some damage, could be a problem down the road. The Yankees nixed the deal.
Yep.
Vaughn stayed in San Diego. Could be the leak that saved San Diego.
Could be the leak.
Pops it up. So Greg Vaughn is still a Padre. May be their MVP this year, although he's got some competition. And certainly is going to be one of the players in the league that gets MVP votes. And he's in the chase along with McGuire and Sosa and Junior. And here is Greg Vaughn, still a Padre, and might have been a Yankee had it not been for that MRI.
So the old failed medical report, as what happens in the case of some football players. And I know there's a lot of excitement brewing around the NFL. There certainly has been a lot in the CFL this year. The Alouettes have played well, but now a ground ball to Mordecai, and that'll do it for the Pods.
3 up, 3 down, nothing here, and on to the bottom of the 8th inning. The Expos lead 4-2. Oh, what a treat for you tomorrow night. TSN Sunday Night Baseball, the Yankees and the Mariners. Ken Griffey Jr. with 41 home runs up against the Yankees. Bernie Williams leading the league in hitting, and Derek Jeter and Tino Martinez and Paul O'Neill and the rest of the Yankees. The Yankees, who won today, are leading. Excuse me, I was right the first time, wasn't I? They won today.
Right.
Beat Seattle 5-2.
Right.
They are now 50 games over 500.
Isn't that incredible?
For the first time since 1961.
Whoa, the same year Roger hit 61. And Mantle hit 56.
Exactly.
Wow. And Mantle missed the last couple of weeks of the season with that bad knee.
Robert Perez, the batter. 0 for 2 with a walk. And a called strike. So again, Yankees and Mariners tomorrow night. That'll be fun. That'll be a treat.
Absolutely. You can talk all you want to about Mark McGuire, but it's also just exciting, as exciting, to watch Ken Griffey Jr.
Perez grounding a ball to Caminetti. He's been kept busy at the hot corner. And let's see what Rod's got for us at Baseball Tonight.
Well, Dave, it's another home run in the Oriole-Royal game. This time it is the O's with it. Chris Hoyles in the 4th off Pat Rapp. That's a 2-run shot. Number 10 of the year for Hoyles. Cuts the lead to 1. Casey still on top in the 4th.
All right, Rod, right here coming to the plate with a huge ovation. Vladimir Guerrero, 2 out of 3. He's knocked in 3. And Guerrero hits a ground ball to Caminetti. And he is out at first base. 2 quick outs here on ground balls to third. And Guerrero heads on to the dugout, but he has to be excited. His brother becoming an Expo and in uniform tonight. He'll be in the lineup tomorrow. Guerrero came in in the league in multiple hit games. He's in the top 10 in batting. 6th in hits in the National League. I mean, his name is just starting to show up everywhere in all the major categories, becoming one of those dominant players and an electrifying performer. Vladimir Guerrero. 2 down. And Andrews the batter. He has grounded out 3 times.
Well, certainly it's deserving for Vladimir to receive the ovation as he did. And I know he's excited that his brother is here. It should be fun for the 2 of them to be playing on the same team tomorrow. Wilton has not gotten into this game. And then obviously Chris Widger is going down to the bullpen I'm watching there. And Uget Urbina is going to come on to pitch the 9th inning. But it's just nice to see the smile on the face of Vlad and his brother Wilton that they're going to be reunited, and it should be a fun thing to watch tomorrow. I just wish we were on TSN again tomorrow that we could talk about it.
Ball 3 and strike 1 to Shane Andrews with 2 outs, nobody on. Jim Brewski's 2nd inning of work. He's faced 5, retired 5. Then it'll be Urbina's turn to take on the Padres. Here's a ball hit down the left field line that's going to drop in there. There's a hit for Andrews. He's trying to turn it into a double and does.
Well, the scouting report on Jim Brewski is he's got a pretty decent fastball. He'll sink it, he'll cut it, and he's got a pretty good curveball. And that ball ran in on Shane Andrews, and he was able to fight it off. And it looked as though that maybe that had home run distance when it first left his bat, but he actually got jammed, didn't get the best part of the bat on the ball, and it falls in front of Greg Vaughn and to the right of him, and Shane Andrews gets a hustling double.
Bob Henley 0 for 3. The rookie catcher has a chance to knock in a run. Tonight is lined out to left, bounced to third, and been called out on strikes.
And you see, this is exactly why I pointed out Chris Widger running down to the bullpen to catch Uget Urbina. And with Henley at the plate, then Felipe can do a little double switch action and put Uget Urbina into that number 6 spot and have Widger then go into the pitcher spot. So it'll all work out. And well, McGuire's in the pitcher spot, but what I'm saying is that in order to do that, the reason why Widger went down there to warm him up, and it gives also another bat in the lineup, and certainly Widger has caught Urbina for the most part of the season, and Uget has been stuck on 23 saves for a long time, so it'd be nice to see him come in the 9th inning and pick up his 24th.
Urbina, the Expos closer, who will come on. Montreal leading 4-2. Over the inside corner, strike 3 called on Henley, and the Expos leave a runner. We'll go to the 9th inning with Uget Urbina coming into the game. Uget Urbina comes on to close it out for the Expos with a 4-2 Montreal lead here in the 9th inning. The Padres have their work cut out for them.
Yes, they do, but Uget appearing in his 43rd game. You see the nifty 1.19 ERA. He's attempting to pick up his 24th save to save this one for Shane Bennett. And you see, look at that, 62 strikeouts in 45 1/3 innings of work. And Chris Widger takes over behind the plate. He'll bat in the 7th spot. That's where Steve Klein was in the order. So put Urbina in the number 6 spot, Widger in the 7th spot, and Oogie trying to close it out.
First ball hitting, Myers is out on a drive to Guerrero.
Boy, you would like to always get that first out, and Uget first pitch fastball. Myers jumped on it, but one quick out.
Trevor Hoffman of the Padres is the saves leader in the National League with 35. Urbina is 5th with 23. There's a strike to Chris Gomez. Padres have sent Jim Laureate out to the on-deck circle. And 1 ball, 1 strike to Gomez. Two balls and a strike to Gomez. Well, the Padres have had 1 hit since the 4th inning. They've only had 5 in the game. 2 of them in the 1st inning, 2 more in the 4th inning, and then a single bank win in the 7th, knocking in a run. And 4-2 Expos. 2 balls, 2 strikes to Gomez.
Well, their team batting average during the year is right in about the middle of the pack throughout the National League, hitting .260 as a team.
Gomez lifts the ball high into the air to center field. Terry Jones there. 2 down. At 11 o'clock Eastern tonight, check out Sports Desk here on TSN for the highlights on all of the Major League Baseball games in both leagues, and of course highlights and news from the world of sports. Lisa Bose and Gino Reno will have it all for you at 11 o'clock on Sports Desk. Probably even be a shot or 2 of people with green hair.
I believe so. Even the yellow and the silver might appear as well. But I'm glad that they didn't ask us to try and put our disco outfits on.
That's not what you're wearing?
Oh, thanks a lot.
Here's Jim Laureate. 2 down, nobody on. Inside of ball 1. Laureate now in his 8th year. Best known for his time with the Yankees.
Yes, and that home run off of Mark Wohlers that turned the series around.
Oh, Gary, I guess. Fouled back.
The the Braves were up 2-0 in that series, and then Mark Wohlers trying to close it out in Game 3 when Laureate hit that home run, and the Yankees went on to win the next 3 after that comeback win. And that was the difference, and everybody pointed the finger at Wohlers, and I'm still surprised that the Braves didn't get an additional closer down the stretch run. With all the problems that Wohlers is having at this particular time throwing the baseball, and I know they've got the great starting staff and all, but I guess John Sherholtz felt that maybe he didn't need to go for the closer. They were trying to get this guy here, Uget Urbina, but I think the price tag would have been quite a bit.
2 down, 2-1 to Laureate. Laureate swings, lines a ball foul down the left field line. Good distance and a foul ball.
Nice to see that ball go foul, but that ball was hard hit. And as you had said, Dave, had home run distance. So Laurate's capable of hitting the long ball. And Laurate's a couple of home runs since coming over from the Red Sox and has 10 RBIs. As a pinch hitter, just 1 for 3.
Boy, on a night when the Expos did not have a regular starting pitcher to go because of the Carlos Perez trade, what a job the bullpen's done. Down in the dirt, bounces away from Widger. Widger took off after that as though there was someone on base.
Yes, he did, because there was 2 strikes. I thought maybe they were going to ask an appeal down there to Pat Connors, and Jim Quick shook his head right away. But that's the reason why he went after it, because of the 2 strikes. And if they would have appealed and said yes, he went, game would have been over.
All right, 3-2 on Laureate. Tying runs at the on-deck circle for the Padres. Laureate swings, pops 1 foul out of play. strikes. Laureate with a sharp ground ball. Andrews at third has it, throws to first for the final out of the game. And the Expos have beaten the Padres 4-2. So on this night when we heard dance music throughout the game, discos into the win column for the Expos.
Yes, and no errors were committed, so some fine defensive plays in the field for the Expos. Urbina picks up his 24th save as the Expos go to 43-67, and they beat the first place Padres. Also due to the fact of a good night with the bat by Vladimir Guerrero, 2 for 4 with 3 RBIs.
Player of the game for the Expos on behalf of Nikon is Vladimir Guerrero. The Expos have beaten the San Diego Padres 4-2 at Olympic Stadium in front of over 28,000 fans on this Saturday night. Now it's time for the TSN Turning Point.
Well, we go right away to Vladimir Guerrero, the double down the line. And that double was the 3rd RBI by Vladimir Guerrero as he produced Robert Perez all the way from first base. And that was the turning point as the Expos go on to win this one. Some good pitching performances, and the win goes to Shane Bennett, the save to Urbina.
A cash donation will be made to the Coaching Association for the training and development of Canadian coaches in amateur sport on behalf of TSN. A 4-2 win for the Expos over the San Diego Padres. Shane Bennett's record 4-4 with a win. Mark Langston the same record with a loss. Urbina with a save. Big night for Vladimir Guerrero.